talking about the third in my series of cookery writers whose books you might not have heard of. And this one is somebody called Laurie Colwin, and here is her book. It's called Home Cooking, a Writer in the Kitchen. Now, the reason I like this so much is that Laurie was the first writer that I read that really inspired me. And to tell you the truth, she was the one who made me think that maybe I could do it as well, though not as well as her. It introduced me to recipes and ideas and a way of describing food that just resonated with the reader. So I'm going to read you a few extracts, which I hope will tempt you to dip into the book. And she starts by talking about the pleasures of eating. Now, this is something particularly apt for these days because although we have a lot of pleasures in eating, we don't have what she's about to describe. And she says, one of the delights of eating with friends, that is one of the delights of life. Second to that is talking about eating. And for a double whammy, there's talking about eating while you're eating with friends. She goes on to say, unlike some people who love to go out, I like to stay at home. And she says this may be caused by laziness, anxiety, or xenophobia. And in the days when my friends were happily traveling to Bolivia or Nepal, I was ashamed to admit that I just wanted to stay at home. I loved hanging about the house. I loved to eat out, but even more, I loved to eat in, and I like to feed people. She then goes on to say something which is very apt today, although it was written in 1988. It's a depressing fact of life that we must now be so vigilant about what we eat. Not a day goes by that we're not told that something is bad for us. Butter, coffee, chocolate, tap water, wheat. The list goes on. So now to some of the recipes. She gives instructions for uncomplicated things. The first one I loved was extremely easy, old-fashioned beef stew. And by the time you've finished reading the few paragraphs, you can't wait to go out and buy a piece of beef and make it. The second one was a simple chicken recipe, which she describes a chicken glaze. And to be honest, I can't remember the details of what it was, but again, it made me feel I need to make that. She also writes about her disasters. One of them was something she called stuffed breast of veal, and in brackets, bad idea. Now, what was it that made it a bad idea? We don't know exactly, but she did say that it didn't taste good. And she ended up the next day throwing the whole lot into a liquidizer and pulverizing it, which I don't think made it taste any better. She has other chapters on repulsive dinners, dinner parties, which really people don't give anymore, and the one I like best, easy cooking for exhausted people. Then she goes into some detail about her mistakes, and I love that. It really inspired me later on when I was writing a book to have a chapter which was about disasters. But her particular disaster was when she made some pasta. She made tortellini, which are little parcels of pasta with something inside. And hers was so hard that they were inedible, but they had also the quality or not quality that they stuck to your teeth. So the 2 or 3 people who were eating with her, she looked around and she was really embarrassed. But they, she realized later, were quite high on marijuana, and so it wasn't the food so much that they were noticing, until one of them said, wouldn't it be groovy if we could dump this, whatever it is, and just go out for dinner? And that's what they did. Even if you're smiling through your tears, she says, remember that novices usually make the same mistake only once. Laurie is very funny about fussy eaters and those who are allergic or on diets. She has one very simple solution to this problem. Just change friends instantly. The book ends with a recipe I've never seen before or since, and it's called black cake. Laurie had a babysitter called Betty who came from the island of St. Vincent. One morning, Betty arrived with a slice of something that might have been tar with elaborate white frosting on top. This turned out to be black cake, which, Laurie said, is to fruit cake what the Brahms piano quartets are to Muzak. She asked how it was made. Simple, said Betty. You just chop up all the fruits and marinate them for 6 months in Passover wine and a bottle of dark rum. It also requires something called burnt sugar essence, available in West Indian stores, but it can be made by boiling up a pound of brown sugar till it turns black. She says fruitcakes abound in the Caribbean. Black cake is in a class by itself. I've never tasted anything like it before or since, and it is not an acquired taste. One bite is all it takes. Reading these last words of her book, that's what made me want to be a writer. So I'm very happy to pass it on to you. This is Laurie Colwin's Home Cooking. It may well be out of print, but you may also be able to pick up a copy, and I strongly recommend that you do. So thank you for watching, and bye-bye.